Okay. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you, God. I gotta always start off with this. This is part two of the last video in regard of certified pedals. This is a term that I'm using now because it was in a song, and they always try to make me acceptive of this pedal persona, which is what they create. In the first part, you clearly see what entity has been certified with a disturbing tendency of pedophilia. And as you see now, the picture of this video, you see certain disturbing reality. I'm so thankful before that horrible thing happens to me. The horrible things that happened to me, I was able to get all this level of validation. Let me just say this. If you haven't seen my part one, let me introduce myself. I am a target individual. And I learned the word target individual in the summer of 2020, but Voices Call V2K started with me on August 19, 2019. In the first parts, I talk about the manipulation and what you heard others describing the technology and who's behind this technology and what's the purpose of this technology and what this technology can do. As a target individual, what happens is you become a test subject. These governmental entities utilize you as a guinea pig to develop this weapon system. Now you're going to be disoriented and distorted. Reality, is going to be distorted. And you're going to be disoriented to believe this thing that your control environment is supposed to make you believe. It is truly systematic. It is truly obvious that they have a purpose of trying to make you believe everything but the reality of what you're part of. The Department of Defense is the entities that you cannot even deny is behind this. In regard to resources, in regard of how global it is, in regard of how sophisticated the technology is, you understand that they are most likely are the main entity behind this. Now, with that being said, there's other entities for sure. You cannot talk about mind control and controlling of the mind without mentioning CIA with the legacy of project like MK Ultra that started off in the 50s, understanding how the mind works to manipulate the mind. That's what they do. But also understanding that the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, DARPA, has been working on technology that can alter the mind. That's what you heard in the first part. You heard that this entity has been working on this technology for years, on this project for years, but you also heard the tendency and the issues with pedophilia those agencies have had. For me, it's magical. I moved to this city in the spring of 2019. The same time where a bill called End National Defense Network Abuse Act was created. That bill was trying to, or attempt to, or was proposed to limit the amount of child porn that was seen being downloaded, accessed, or shared using DoD network and DoD computers. It was disgusting. Apparently, the DoD was being ranked as a top-tier network for trafficking, accessing, and sharing child porn. This came from a study from an agency that specializes in child pornography and child protective services. They were ranked at a high level in 2018 and 2019. That's when this bill was introduced. I have to be thankful to God that not that this is what's happening, but I know that the acknowledgement of it all just destroys the facade and the psyops that this purpose that I mentioned part one tried to create Because what's happened with me, as you heard in part one, is they try to make you believe that you are this pedophile and they're the one protecting children. But the reality shows everything but that they are the pedophiles, or they are working for governmental entities with issue with pedophilia, and they have these tactics of manipulating brains in certain ways. You hear that they have these degrading tactics of rewinding the brain, and this technology can alter the mind. That's the part. Part one was really pushing that it is validated that they have this technology that can alter the human mind. They rewire the brain. And then they have the same tactics of trying to confuse you, try to make you believe that this is anything but this massive government that's been working on this technology to alter your brain. With me, this is what they do. Because you're going to hear the validation. What you're going to hear is the tactics of doing this pedophilia type of torture. In part one, I called out that you heard men say, called Robert Dawkins, called they rewire the brain to push the target individual into insanity. Then you're going to hear testimony in this part two, the testimonials of target individuals saying what they experiences and the pedophilia manipulations that they utilize on them. The pedophilia type of torture, as one called it. Since then, I've been calling it that. Because this is what's happening to me 24/7. Every time I see a child, from the babies to the older kids, nasty stimulation, nasty. For example, in the midst of me prepping all day today, I was calming myself down. But every time I would look at, from the youngest to the oldest to the young adults. So you gotta understand these extremes. This is a baby, a black little girl. Oh, it made me zoom out this kid butt. Can you imagine? This kid here. They try to make me zoom out this butt that's non-existent of a child to try to create some kind of sexual stimulation. A baby. When they do this, with me, it's like they mapped it to my brain when I was a kid. Matter of fact, right now they still try to create some kind of perception of this kid's little tiny butt to try to create some nasty stimulation. From this baby to even like babies, like infant, like not even like this is a baby, maybe a years old, adorable thing here. Stimulations to like teenagey looking kids that look like a 16-year-old, 15-year-old, something like that. To let me see. To like 12-year-old. They try to make me look at this kid's breast that she doesn't have. Like a 12, 13, maybe 13, 14-year-old. And to even young adults, which, you know, this is a college student. That, this would take me like some time to figure out if she's like a young adult or like a late teen kid. Obviously, this is less extreme than this, or than this. But this manipulation. The reason why they do that is because they were supposed to push the target individual into insanity. It is nasty. It is disturbing. Right now, they're just making me think of, oh, you see how you zoom? Because I was like, double-clicking, just zoomed straight to the butt of this kid, the little black girl. And they try to create some perception, but this kid is a baby. It's a tiny butt. She has nothing. It's a kid. But they can truly play with your brain and manipulate. Your brain can be manipulated in disgusting ways. You just gotta be strong. Deal with this nastiness. They can play with your libido, your sexual arousals, and this is what they do. For me, I'm so thankful that there's testimonials, and that's why I encourage all target individual. It's funny, my first video I made says, in my first video I make sure to first of all describe what's happening to me, and because today I'm employed by this employer of mine who is supposed to make me believe that they're different and this and that. I know who is responsible for me being in this circumstance. My first employer that I ever had, perhaps even the only employer, my real employer, fresh out of college, they put me in this program. Matter of fact, I came to this city because I was trying to get away from them. In my first video that I ever made, I described what happened to me, who I know is behind this, behind putting me in this program, and now that I'm in this program, what's happening to me. The current employer is doing everything they can to try to make me think otherwise, because unfortunately for them, the employer that put me in this program is known for their conservative tendencies, to the point where they even donated money to a man who allegedly was picking up kids. It's like everything, reality has fallen into these people, these perps, who wanted to create this fantasized reality, and the humiliating reality just pushed them in their faces. And you have these perps that wanted to play these avengers and protectors of children and women, when the truth is they are the trash that torture women and children. And you're going to hear that. This is part 2. The horror of what they do to me is not unique to me. They'll do that. They do that to women and children. And it's funny how they try to vilify me. It's like, oh, we're so sorry, because they try to sound like they're avenging for this. I'm like, you're sorry for what you're going to hear there, because they're involved in that. Matter of fact, it gets so bad with me, with the humiliating reality of what they're part of. They start creating stories like, no, it's our channel. We have like a channel of like avenging feminists. It's so retarded. They have no shame on how narration can be created. It's a channel where there's like it's a feminist. She, and they always utilize like gender as a way to kind of create a different storyline of reality. No, she's mapping it. She's the one in the brain too, because it's a she. A she will not manipulate the brain in these pedophilia ways. They have no shame. For me, they have created this like facade of feminism that's so disgusting. And they love, no, she mapped it, because she will not. You're going to clearly hear there's a lot of women, you're going to hear what she said. A lot of females participating in the program, doing that to women and children. I've heard testimony of women saying, through V2K, which you're going to hear what it is. Hearing a woman talking to her as this woman is getting raped using this weapon system. So I'm never going to let this trash think that gender changed the reality of what this is about. And target individual, I hope that my video helps, because you should not. Do not fall for the perception projected onto you. They literally are trying to use what the way they present to you as a way that you should accept reality. It's dead. It's over. That facade is destroyed. Target individuals stay strong. See them as the bottom feeders. The government is contracting to partake in this. Before I die, I'm so thankful I got to see everything for what it is, at least for the time being. This trash. It's funny now what they're saying. It's like they say things like, oh, we can all suffer. We can all be reimbursed. As in, I keep saying, you're going to get yours. Don't worry, your time will come, however it comes. And the scary part is, as I'm still able to see things, I'm still able to be conscious. I've seen people kill themselves. I've seen people get really sick. I've seen people in circumstances that is almost magical. And I was the one saying, you're going to get yours. And they got theirs one way or another. Because the evilness they're part of is very facilitated, because this is weapon system that is being developed, resourced by the Department of Defense. They can do destructive things to us from wherever else in such a comfort. It's funny, some of these childlike perps participating in my program, they start making story up in their brain, like where they're like some warriors. They are war, and now I understand what they do. Because they know what they're part of, that does horrible things to babies, to women. But on top of that, that the manipulations are obviously so disgustingly pedophilia-centric. So they are fully aware that they are making people have sexual reaction to children. And they try to be like, haha, this is just a part of the war. Like, yeah, okay. When the truth is, they just contracted to implement this technology onto us to continuously develop this weapon system. That's what you heard in part 1. They use different language. Oh, we mapped it. It's mapped. And now I start using it just like them. It's like, oh, let me map with this person. Just because they just use whatever they can. They use the language that can try to make you think that they're not rewiring or altering their brain, like I said in part 1. And like I'm going to let them escape in this retardation. Oh, they made the mistake of thinking that I'll let them just... Some of them, I look at this woman, it's like, do you think I can let you be a clown? You piece of shit. You think I'm going to let... I apologize if I gave you the perception that you can think that I can let you go into the escapism of fantasized reality. And because some of them, I'm on the call, they talk, and they just get on the camera. It's like, what the fuck? I was trash ass. Target individuals, find yourself with dignity. These people deserve death. I keep saying that, and I mean it. I don't mean that I'm going to give them the death. They deserve death because you're going to hear everything they're part of and the horror they're part of, and they know exactly, and now to try to cope with what they're part of because they enjoy what they're part of. Target individual, this technology gives them the ability to manipulate a human being. Now, these perps obviously are not in charge of it. What you see around you is just the people who implement these things. But this trash get the chance to work with technology that can do so much to a human being. There's so much incentives, not even financial only. Anybody in the medical field, anybody in the technological field, anybody this gives you the ability to work with technology that can change a human being. Psychologically, physically, manipulate the organs in so many ways. They make me sick, they can treat me from what they made me feel. Do you understand the level of incentive that this program can provide a perp? Forget about just the financial aspect, because the financial aspect is obviously there. We'll talk about the Department of Defense. Just the intoxicating feeling of feeling that level of empowerment. So they come up with stories to just cope with what they're part of. Oh, you gotta pay. You know what they say? This is basically saying you're gonna pay for what you did when you were a freaking 8th grader. Because when I was an 8th grader, I did something to myself as a kid that they've been trying to exaggerate. They've been exaggerating. I was on the call when they make me experience this nasty reaction. This woman said she touched it. It's so nasty. Because what she tried to say is, when I was a kid in 8th grade, and I did whatever I did to myself, this person touched it. And she's saying that to try to exaggerate what I did as a kid, to create contact. As to try to exaggerate what I did as a kid, because she wants me to think that she's some kind of avenger. You're going to hear what they do to children, but most disgustingly, you're going to hear to women who are traumatized because they were sexually abused when they were kids. To the point that you're going to hear this woman, an American citizen who has zero language knowledge about in Russia, does nothing. She knows nothing about Russia. Try to get asylum in Russia to escape this government because she knows she's a guinea pig in this, that she's a target individual, that she knows these entities are doing things to her. And she described the trauma of dealing with what happened to her as a child and couldn't even get treatment, psychological treatment, even medication to deal with the trauma that's psychologically breaking her down. When she was a kid, her father was doing things to her. Today, as an adult woman, she's a test subject. They're doing horrible things to her. This trash deserves death. But it's okay. Target individual is not for you to give them that death. They will get it. It's going to come in a magical way. Now, starting off with the psychological torture. What they do to you, target individual, most likely is not unique. I found out pretty early when I started discovering the target individual that they do this pedophilia type of torture. It is systematic. They force target individual to have reaction that's degrading toward children. Now let's start with V2K. And I'm going to let this woman describe what V2K is and what it means to her. Because V2K is these piped-in voices that you heard in part 1 that this man, Robert Dawkins, described. But once you get these piped-in voices, at some point, For some of us target individual, our brains start being rewired and manipulated. Listen to her describing this.
Form of torture. Form of torture. V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just...
Listen, I'm not a saint. I've looked at women in very perverted ways. I'm not, somebody who's just pretend like, oh my gosh, I don't know. But when she means by perverted, it's not just the normal way or even the way you would naturally look at a woman sexually. It's how they make you look at even children. So women, they do that, I'm like, okay, I can feel being manipulated. Not too long ago, they would try to make me some fucking trash, but I'll make a video about that. I don't want to focus on that right now. But they force you to have this disgusting perception toward children. In the early pictures I was showing, some of this kid, for example, the little black girl, they try to make me think of this, make me look at this kid's butt in this sexual way, like that's non-existent. It's so nasty. Even now, they still try to create this thought and stimulate me. And every time they do that, they try to gaslight you. They use scare tactics. They're gonna rape you. They're waiting for you to get raped. I was like, whatever's gonna happen to me, I will never let this low life live the fantasy. For example, right now, because I said this in this calm way, they open the door in this aggressive way, try to create some kind of anxiety and fear. It's part of how they try to break you down. I'm so desensitized by this trash noise campaign. I just know it's just some clown trash that deserve to die. Because this pedophilia type of torture is this here. Let me see.
I really mean extreme.
Let me see.
What is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and videos in my...
This is why I start calling it pedophilia type of torture. It's because she came up with that terminology and it made sense. It is torture and it's pedophilia centric. There's trash around you, try to make you think otherwise. They mapped it. And it's, for me, like I said, so disgusting. To try to make it sound like it's different than the pedophilia type of torture that they do to other target individual. It's like, she, as a woman who did this, so it's different. She mapped it. As if these things are not done by women too. It's so disgusting. I'm like, do you think I'm a child? It could be a she, he. It could be a he, she. It could be a they, them. It's not going to change the reality that they have these tactics of doing the pedophilia type of torture. It's so nasty.
This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds.
What you just heard come from this man called Robert Duncan. He came up with a list of things that target individual deal with. He talked to 1,000 target individual. almost all of them said that their mind is manipulated to have imagination that's child pornographic, like pedophilia centric, pedophilia type of torture. This came from a survey of 1,000 target individuals. If it's she, if it's a he, if it's a they, he, whatever, this is a tactic that they continuously do that to others. I will never let this trash live their fantasy as they manipulate my brain in these ways.
It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind. But he thought of him. Like this disgusting thing. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting thing that I didn't want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surround.
They try to counter this by trying to make me think, oh, but remember what you did as a kid, and they try to find ways. But you hear clearly that this transgender woman described, her name is Jackie, she's no longer with us, that they're trying to, well, they were making her have thoughts that are pedophilia centric. And she recognized that there's people around doing things, partaking in that, just like me. For example, right now there's neighbors that open the door in this aggressive way. I'm supposed to identify with this. But this is the things they do. They do this pedophilia type of torture, and it's something that they do systematically.
Also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes.
Pedophilia is utilized because it's used as a weapon. As your thoughts, your brain can be manipulated. They're going to manipulate it in degrading ways. Remember, the goal is to push you into insanity, to push you into walking to your death, to push you to suicide, or perhaps push you to kill people in a suicidal way. So having you have this degrading thought process will push you into insanity. It's disgusting. It is foul. And on top of that, forget about just the thought process, but they also manipulate your libido. They can control, in the first part you heard, how they can control your body. Have you have sexual stimulation or make you have any emotional or reaction that is desire. They do these things, and they can control
This technology
the libido.
can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal.
This technology plays with the libido. They can crank up your sexual arousal, make you have sexual stimulation, just stimulate you. So when I see these kids, especially early on, they can gauge however high or low they want you to have the sexual arousal. You are completely controlled. In part one, I mentioned, you hear this man say, they can make you have the desired reaction that they want you to have. If they want you to have a very sexual, like a stimulation, an intense sexual stimulation, they will make you have one. If they want you to have a little bit of stimulation, they'll make you have it. If they want you to not have any stimulation, anything they want you to experience, they can make you experience. But the goal is to try to make you think that you're experiencing that organically. And they use this trash around you to try to gaslight you to accepting this. It's nasty. And for me, wherever I go, they try to break me down into accepting this manipulation. With me, that's why I said they try to look at what they can use to validate these manipulations. When it comes to this little kids, it's like, no, but I remember what you did as a child when I was in 8th grade. By the way, I'm talking about a child that age. And they're saying that my brain, what's happening to my brain is just being pushed back to me when I was a kid. It's funny because I was in 8th grade, so I have a picture of like 8th grader, and some 8th grader look bigger than others. So when it's the bigger kids, they try to like, oh, you see, when I never been the big 8th grader. I was just average size, or maybe smaller than average, but maybe not too small, but most like average size. This is what you can see as an 8th grader. It is an 8th grader. You can see others a little bit farther kids. You can see the this kind. This is. They say that my brain, when they make me have these experiences, is they just have paired it to an experience I experienced when I was a child. The people who have utilized pedophilia type of torture to break you down are saying that they're pairing your brain to you as a child. Now, at every level, what I just said makes no sense. You tell me people who known to do this manipulation that's degrading, that do the pedophilia type of torture, are making your brain of an adult man, an adult person, have the same reaction that you have when you were a child, a developing brain. Do you understand how disturbing? At every level, it's just stupidity. I've seen people of all ages, all profession. Maybe not all profession, but I've seen people from professional work, people who are professional, like corporate professionals, to just clowns from the neighbors, to like chill out like people in neighborhood, try to make you accept this stupidity. In part one, you heard the issue in these entities with pedophilia. I mean, it's so disturbing to know that these people work for governmental entities where there's a bunch of people that own child porn, to the point where they're ranked top tier for child porn trafficking. Did you know that if they don't child porn, they're doing things to kids? Well, they are here saying that what we do, us who do the pedophilia type of torture, are pairing your brain into you as a kid. Listen, I'm so thankful that before all this ended, I was able to say what I need to say. I'm so thankful to God. That's why I need to be thankful. They play with the libido in degrading ways, and then they contract this trash like this, for example. Very childish like individual. Matter of fact, somebody just made some noise here. Like this. So these people live around you, and as they manipulate your brain, they do this like noise campaign that's supposed to be aggressive. This is the people saying they're at war. It's just pathetic. They're just clowns. And this is what they do.
They use these monarch-style torture programs, like it's based on sex and trauma. So they're gonna traumatize you, then use your libido to get back at you, and
they're gonna play with your libido in these disturbing ways. Then they're gonna use these losers of human beings to gaslight you. They come in all shape or form. You have childlike shit that have nothing to show for it. You have people who have accomplished things. They come in all ranges. And they really want you to believe this. And via V2K, it's like, no, they are, so they are. And you're like, what the? A clown like you. You think I'll ever let you live your fantasy? But at this point, I think they understood, hopefully they better, that I know that this trash job is to make me accept the way they manipulate people as if it's naturally happening. That's why the people deserve death. And because some of them are very childish, they think that in life what you gotta do is just like be like very, you gotta really just imagine they're that and it's gonna be true. Never. I'm sorry, I'm not that person for you. They're gaslighting the wrong person here. Matter of fact, what they've done to me is just give me empowerment. Especially when people are more established. To see a grown man or woman with so much in their life and to see them dumbing themselves down when there's this level of validation, it's magical. When you see these retards, it's like what you expect from a retard. They have nothing to show for. I don't respect them. If I use that language, it's because I truly do not respect them. But they will get theirs. I understand the intoxicating feeling they get from this. But it's not free. They're not at war. They're just trash that can just feel empowered by these things, which a lot can. A lot of people just need to accept to be degraded to yourself. You cannot respect yourself as a perp. Now, when they try to play these vengeful people, they're so disgusting. That's when the anger comes even stronger. The manipulation, degrading, disturbing. But what disturbs me is when they come up and try to play this like angry man, like feminist. They will, especially early on. Oh my gosh, they'll come like you pay. They walk. They have this like walk, intense walk. Like they were just like, oh. The truth is what they're doing is because what they're part of does so much evilness to so many people of all ages, all genders, all around the world. Atrocities. They thought they could compensate by acting a certain way. They thought they could just like, you could pay. Do you know what they do to women and children? Let me just give you a glimpse of how disgusting they are. First of all, this is me saying this in 2020, there was a video for TIA Day awareness. I thankfully was in it, and this is what I said. If I find the video, I can show you.
Doing people like that, but it is what it is. The only thing you can do is stay strong and focus on the people you love. You know, I was lucky enough to have my mother who was going through the same thing that I was going through. They started saying all kind of crazy stuff to her jobs, and
this is me coming up.
I'm a victim of organized stalking, electronic harassment, microwave torture, V2K abuse, and I'm asking you to help us end this crime against humanity, which has impacted men, women, children all around the world.
Hi, I'm Wan from Malaysia. My family are targeted individuals. We are victims of cyber torture, and I will not give up. I will fight to the end.
And I'm a victim of organized
We need this to stop.
electronic harassment. And I'm speaking to you on International Targeted Individual Day. I live in the US, in Illinois, and I'm a victim of organized
We need this to stop.
electronic harassment, microwave torture,
I've been targeted for 9 years.
24/7.
We've become more aware of this crime and those that the crime is being committed against. We need your support and help in ending this crime.
Hello, my name is Wendy Brown. I'm a targeted individual who is living in New Zealand, but my targeting began in California. I'm an American citizen, and the targeting continues in New Zealand. I'm making this video in remembrance of Targeted Individual Day, our third annual Targeted Individual Day. And I'm asking that every honest-hearted human being open their eyes to a crime.
My name is Jeanette. I am 56 years old and I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I am a victim of covert electronic harassment and torture. I am a targeted individual.
Why? Because it hurts. I need help. I need you guys to come get me. It's brutally painful. I have a house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms.
This woman chose to live in her car, chose to be a homeless because she thought that she has the better chance to survive. She claims that her neighbors are hitting her with this technology. And there's some coming that you're going to hear that wherever you go as a target individual, there's people around you participating, however they do. And she decided to get out of her house, leave her in her car, because there's a better chance of survival that way. And you're going to hear more of that. It's scary. That she had the option to stay in her apartment. She had a full house. A house with land and everything. Decided to live in her car. instead of living in this comfortable house that she has. Because in her house, she's getting fried up. And because this is a woman who wants to survive, more than anything, she decided that the best chance to survive is to live in a car. With me, they tell me, hey, you're going to be a bomb. It's like, there's so many women that you guys destroy life of. Destroy them. And I'm so thankful for their testimonials. These perps are supposed to play these feminists, protectors of women and avengers of women. And the truth is they deserve death. Because on top of doing these things to us, target individual, some of them have the audacity to then present themselves as protectors of women when they hear the sufferance of these women, knowing that they're involved in a program that does these things to women, the atrocities that they're involved in. This is disgusting, and they deserve death for it. And I keep saying that because that's truly what they deserve. Now, I will not and don't have the capability to do that to them, because for one, I don't want their dirty fucking blood on me. They're trash. Let this trash end the way they need to end. I would die in trash, eating crap, whatever it is, then live life like them. It's so nasty. Listen to what these women go through and the sufferings they go through. The atrocities, as she says. There's a lot of women being tortured in this program. And this trash are playing this feminist, like the way they just create this false reality to counter reality. Because they enjoy, they love, these perps enjoy what they part. I know it's true. And I know why. They are fully in control of my body and my organs. They can control me to do things. They have no control of what's happening to them. I met some that was on antidepressant, that every day took pills, or pill at least, to stay balanced. But in professional woman. But in my case, she can partake in some manipulation and control of all sorts. So I understand the intoxicating feeling. But they want to do that and live a deluded reality where what's allowing her to do what she can do to me is also out here burning the vaginas of women. You're going to hear that part. But listen to this woman describe this.
Worked for the Defense Department. She worked on the global mapping of that system. And when I told her what I was going through, all she would say was, "You're on your own." Well, I figured that out. If you would please, I urge you to pass this. I realize you can't enforce it, but if you would pass it, it might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are defenseless women.
You understand? This trash will never escape from reality. They do some of the most evil things, not only to men, but also to women. The sexual torture are some of the nastiest.
I also experienced what is referred to as mellow office building that uses an electronic key. It is often very difficult and an immense battle just to even sit on the toilet to go to the bathroom. Not only because of the bowel and bladder manipulation, but also also because of the frequent severe sexual assaults on the genitals, my butt and anus, shaking, vibrating, and rocking my body back and forth, and forced eyeball movements, and phantom touch sensations doing rubbing sensations, etc.
They do terrible things. I'm just giving you the samples of what you've just heard before. Listen to this woman. Now, a lot of women and sexual torture is applied onto them just like applied to men as a target individual. This is a testimonial of a woman who I discovered not too long ago. I think she started her videos last year. Her name is Megan. And if Megan watching this, thank you so much for your testimonial. You know, one of my first video I made was, this is encouraging all target individuals to tell the story, because you don't know how it helps people. And this testimonial helped me so much, because the participant of this program wanted to create such a fantasized reality, and her testimonial is so destructive to this fantasized reality that they put together, this facade. This is a woman that when she was a child had to go through some terrible things. Let me see if I have this.
Like, I'm told that like even presidents get prosecuted if they commit crimes. The reality is my government is protecting my abusers and even caused them to abuse me. And that since I was a child, when I was a child.
If you watch one of my videos, you hear her stories. She, as a child, went through some horrible things where she was put in the hands of somebody who was abusing her sexually, her father. And then she went through some more stuff as a teenage kid. This woman today deals with this.
Hey, I just woke up after a pretty rough night. The same thing happened last night as the night before, which was whenever I was trying to go to sleep, the private parts of my body began being burned again, and I can feel it's going to be the same again today. Already on the harming of the private parts of my body. Don't really know what to do. I tried to go to a doctor to get some kind of pain medicine, because what actually happens to me, what is happening to me is my actual physical body is being burned. So it causes me to go into shock, and I'm called a targeted individual. My own safety, because the government's burning the private parts of my body.
You keep hearing that her private part are being burned via this technology. She recognized that she's what she called a target individual, and she calls out the government, because that's obviously the entities behind this. This woman apparently, and this woman that when as a child went through these horrible things, today as a woman goes through these horrible things. She tried to get asylum. She was an asylum seeker in Russia. She tried to get asylum in Russia. Not with me. I was not born in this country, and they were trying to say, no, this is our country. To understand that a woman from this country was trying to get asylum in Russia, to just escape this, thinking that's going to change, save her. But of course, it was not. It follows you everywhere in the world. But she wanted to survive to the point where she seeks for asylum in Russia. She doesn't speak a word of Russian.
And I got held whenever I tried to seek political refugee status in Russia, and I got held by the U.S. government.
This is the reality. Now, if you thought it was bad enough to torture women like that, This is not only happening to women.
Miss Catherine Nestor.
Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MK Ultra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the detail.
This woman and her young child, both utilized as test subjects, going through some atrocities that is damaging their bodies and psychologically. It's funny, she calls it neural monitoring, so they're like, you see, when we're just monitoring her young child, by the way. Now you're going to hear the woman who described the pedophilia type of torture say when she's teaching her kids what she sees these young children go through.
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry. This was highly unusual behaved forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation who also has Down syndrome. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions.
This is what they do to kids. To see people that know about what they're part of do everything possible to distort the reality of what they're really part of, wanting me to accept the way my brain is being manipulated, it's easy to find anger and wanting to be harmful to them. I would advise all my target individuals, stay strong. Let this trash die the way they need to die. It's not for you to do that. But I understand they deserve to die. I see this grown man, I've been employed by these people who try to help with the distortion of reality. And it's still so humiliating to even try to make me believe that they're the one responsible for what's happening to me. No, to just participate. Bad things were going to happen to me regardless, because as a target individual, unfortunately, life is destroyed. Now if they're going to destroy even more, so it was already destroyed. I was already doomed. If they doomed it even more, it was done. You don't need to be triple doomed because if you just doomed once. But I know one thing, is they're going to create a theatric torture because they wanted to present themselves as this good, sensible, individual protectors of women and children, when the truth is they got trapped in ways they don't understand. For me, they tell me they're going to frame me by using children, saying that children are going to say that I raped them. That gives you an indication of how they care about children and how they treat children. To even have one of their kids knowing that this is going to impact her life or their life in these disgusting ways. It's funny, they tell me, "Oh, I feel so bad." It's like, don't worry, trash, you are such a retard, you don't understand this going to come one way or another. A child or children growing up saying these things about people that's falsified, say that people rape them when they don't. Trust me, there's no way you're going to grow up to be okay. but you don't have to feel bad today. But that gives you an idea of how nasty. And to see these coworkers of mine that just participate in this, and not even they hired me as perps, but to see them try to still want to present this psyop in front of me, I'm like, you're just a trash. One person just, but things have done, things have happened in certain ways that I was already doomed. But it seems like I dragged some people to hell. I see this. I remember interviewing with this guy. He had this like smirk at the end. Today, the smirk he has is not the same. It's a smirk that's just like it's forced. It's just trying to kind of change like what's been happening. Things happen to these people. Some things are scary. I mean, when I was hired, this person who's very much involved in my destruction while I was employed by them, today is not doing well. One have taken his own life. To see this man try to find ways to just, because they're scared that, it's so funny to see people nervous that, maybe what we're doing right now is going to catch up with us one way or another, and to try to like dodge this weird occurrence that's happening to my coworkers in this fashion, which is the same time they're doing these things to me, and to see this man just try to find ways to just not make him mystical in that sense that, it's weird that this person has this disease, this condition, while she was doing this thing to me, and while this man was seeing me slowly die and try to push me into insanity and push me into suicide, end up killing himself. So I'm looking at this man like, it's weird, huh? Now wait till you see what's going to happen to you. If you find refuge in this childlike trash that they contract to disorient me, to distort me, these retards don't even know what the hell they can do. They use childlike perps to try to agitate me and try to tell me to annoy me. I'm like, listen, this is what you have for your backup. This is unstable child, like almost mentally retarded. Target individuals stay strong. Death comes to all of us. I am thankful that before my death came, in whatever horrible way is going to come, I get to see these people for what they are, and I drag them to a hell that they don't know about. They're going to put me in a hell, but they drag themselves into another hell. And I love saying this thing in such a prophetic way, but at this point, there's been some validation that this prophetic way seems to happen. And in regard of what you see around you, this clown that they use, I'm not unique. They tend to use these psyops.
And the aliens were warned until you're part of it. We're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, the V2K. So they'll say, we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. I've heard all these stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis, that people will believe something other